Good morning, it's Sunday morning. Happy Father's Day to everyone. Really appreciate even more that you're here on Father's Day. So, but when you get back home, then please make it count. All right. So it's day 3. Really excited to see you all. Still looking awake and interested, which is always good. So a few housekeeping things to talk about very first. One of the reasons we've moved to this room is because there's a direct view of the track. So if you get bored, then just turn to your left and you will see lots of track racing. And most importantly, at lunchtime, at 1:30, we have some Spitfires flying overhead. Jules, can you just please tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. What they're doing is, because it's Father's Day, they do events here all the time. So today they've got lots of old cars going around the track and they're doing racing and various different things. And then at 1:30 they've got the Spitfires going to come over ahead. Now you can see it from the window here, but I've been told the best place to see it is downstairs by the skid pad. So because it's at lunchtime at 1:30, if anyone wants to go down there and see the Spitfire, you need to be there at 25 past, so you don't miss it. So I've been told they're very prompt, and if it's 1:30, it's 1:30. So actually you can watch it from here or get a better view outside. And if you want me to show you how to get down there, then give me a shout and I'll take a load of you down there.
Brilliant. Thank you, Jules. Thank you. So yes, please do not miss out on that, because people come from far and wide to watch these, and we're already here, so let's take advantage. And then a couple of other things about our sponsors. We've had a shift around. We've had all the proper working crew that have come in today on the Sunday. So a couple of names to mention. From Hague, we've got Sam, who was obviously here yesterday, and also Jim, the owner. Jim, stand up, please. Jim Hague, there you go. He is a gentleman that you will be seeing obviously alongside other members of the team, if and when you do go to them for help. And Jim has just completed his second huge showroom and workshop area up in Liverpool. So if any of you come from up north, perfect place to go up there and pick their brains, and they love that sort of thing. You know? So please do go and do that. Really well resourced for us all throughout the country. So and then NSK Graham is obviously here. So hi Graham. Please do go and ask Graham questions. He's been here all through. Stram, Chelsea Stewart has joined us today. So please do talk to her about implants and all such gadgets. Thank you very much. And Wesleyan Phil Womack is here. Where is Phil? Hello, Phil from Wesleyan. Please do talk to him. You'll be given an opportunity later to have another bit of a round table from all the sponsors as well, who, as you know, we've handpicked because of their relevance to this course. So please do go and ask them anything. They're very helpful people, especially on a Sunday. All right. So, the last 3 days, we've, believe it or not, been taking on a bit of a journey. The day 1 was about planning, it was actually about vision, it was about planning, it was about strategy, it was about the legal side of things. Day 2 was about your lifeline, which is your equipment and your products that are going to make this thing happen for you, as well as producing bums on the seats that you've just purchased, in other words, marketing, and how to bring the clients in, and different ways, strategies, online, offline. We'll be talking a little bit more about that today. And then the main focus for today is actually my favourite subject, which is people. It's all about people, whether it's the people in your team, your staff, or the most important people, which are your patients. So we will be starting the day, in fact, with those patients. So we'll work backwards. So really, I just want to start with having the view of people. To me, the most important people in your practice, and I ask this a lot at interviews, who are the most important people in the practice? Who's the most important person in the practice? Sometimes I ask dentists that, sometimes I'll ask a nurse that, sometimes I'll ask a hygienist this. And it's really interesting, the answers you get back. Anybody guess what sort of answers you get back? No, shout it out. Dentist, okay, yeah, I do get that. Stop. That's the right answer, but yeah, I don't not often get that. Absolutely, the right answer from my point of view is the patient. Because without the patient, we have nothing. We don't have your job, we don't have my job, we don't have this practice, we have absolutely nothing. So I think that's who we really want to focus on today, and that's one of the continual training focuses that we have, certainly within the neem tree. So what we want to create in every practice, whether it's mine, yours, or anybody else's, we don't just want patients, we don't just want customers, we don't just want clients. What we really want are 3 words. We want mad raving fans, right? We just want mad raving fans of us. And if you've got mad raving fans, then you're halfway there. So how do you get mad raving fans? I mean, really, it's very simple. The more you add value, if you can add more value to your service, your provision, than anyone else, anywhere else, local to you or otherwise, you will dominate the marketplace. It's quite simple. And that's what it is. It's all about the culture of the practice. So any supreme businesses or practices or businesses generally, let's look at America, will have this culture where you have this mad raving fan technology. One of the businesses we'll talk about later on is Zappos. Or have you all heard of Vans shoes? Yeah. Like a bit like Converse, Vans shoes. Yeah, Zappos. Really, really interesting technology. Well, mad raving fan technology there. What they, as you probably know, were one of the first businesses that started with they deliver a pair of Vans to you. If you don't like it, for whatever reason, you don't have to explain. You just call a toll-free number. There you go. Thank you very much. Please stand up and show us your Vans. Excellent. Point higher, higher, higher. Oh, there you go. Vans. So maybe you can corroborate this. I don't know if it's applicable to you, but that was their technology. Here's a box of Vans. If you don't like it for whatever reason, call this number. We will come and collect it off you free of charge, no charge to you, and we will replace it or give you your money back. And okay, that might be the culture these days. That might be relatively common, but when it started off, it was fantastic. That was mad raving fan technology and culture. And I think taking it back to our clinical setting, what we're looking for is we're trying to fulfill the client or the patient's every need. We want to not just fulfill their need and answer their questions, we want to preempt their questions. We want to preempt what their needs are before they even walk through the door. And that is something that if you do on a consistent basis, which needs training and it needs constant training because it's not all about you, it's about your team, you will get fans, you will get patients who will not only be loyal to you, but they will refer, and they will refer in droves. Okay? So, can anybody tell me what's the most expensive thing in a business? Hands up.
Staff. Time.
Staff. Time. Yeah? Good answers? Anything else? So now I'm talking about something a bit more tangible. What's the most expensive thing in a business? Once you've set it all up, everything's set up, you're ready to go. Now, what's the most expensive thing? Customers. Yeah? Anyone else?
Yourself.
Yourself? Well, I actually agree with you. It is actually acquiring a new client. It's not just customers generally. It's acquiring a new client. That's the hardest thing you can do. The most money that you will spend is to acquire a new client. Whether it's through marketing in a new practice, whether it's what we did in Wandsworth when we first opened. We had the first month, because we had 0 patients. So for the first month, we had free checkups for everybody. I mean, it worked a treat because everyone just battered the doors down to come in and see us. Why wouldn't you? But it was the most expensive thing because as we were just talking earlier, wasn't I with you, Desi, that there are huge costs when you first open up your practice. Everybody's knocking on your door, pay me this bill, this bill, this bill, this bill. You kind of get fed up of everybody asking you for money. And then on top of that, you're doing free treatment. It sounds crazy, but it's the price you pay for new clients because in a new squat practice, you have no clients. So every client is a new client. So you have to invest that money. In subsequent practices, we've done other things, but effectively, there is a lot of cost associated with it. And it's not just cost, it's energy, it's time, and it's the hardest thing to do. Right, and so what is the easiest thing to do? So the easiest thing to do is to service, to keep, and to make happy the existing clients that you have. In other words, not acquire new clients, just keep your patient base happy. Now, there is a challenge behind this because we always get, I think, those who are commercially minded amongst us and those who are very clinical will give you a very different answer as to what do you call this person who you're treating? What do you call them? Let's show of hands. Who would call them patients? It depends where you're coming from up here. It really does depend where you're coming from. But the bottom line is that a customer, the word customer gives you a very transient, a very temporary feel to this person. A customer is somebody who goes to Starbucks to buy a coffee. A customer is somebody who goes to Curry's and buys a video recorder. Do they even exist? A television, right. So it's a very temporary term. What our goal is, certainly with this mad raving fan culture, is to actually create quality clients. And so our role changes from that of a coffee maker who just gives you, what would you like, a latte, a soy latte, this latte, that latte, to somebody who acts more as a fiduciary. In other words, somebody whose role is very much in the interests of their client, in the interest, and they do everything which requires total trust, good faith, and honesty. It literally is the role of a fiduciary rather than somebody who's just serving them something at any given moment in time. That's how you would create a client. So it's somebody who respects the needs, the wants, and the time of their client. I'll give you an example, actually, of this. One of our dentists in Isha, absolutely fantastic dentist. I mean, in my 12 years of being a principal, I can't really rave about him enough. He's fantastic clinically. He gives time to the patients. He looks after their needs. The one thing, however, he does continually, though he's got a little bit better in time, is he runs late. He continually turns up to work half an hour to 1 hour late. He continually runs about half an hour behind. And I had so many fights with him in the past. I would be standing outside the door going, what time do you call this? And I would be livid with him. But he continually would run late. Now, as I said, he's got better now. Even though everybody loves him, patients love him, mad raving fans of this guy, really are. However, he would end up bringing in 6 patients but turning away 3. Bringing in 10 patients but turning away 2. Bringing in 20 patients, turning away 10. And this was simply because of his lack of respect for their time. Now, we in our clinics, as everybody does in their clinics, have to operate in a timely fashion. We have to respect people who work or don't work. It doesn't matter. If you've got a 9:30 appointment, it's not acceptable to be seen at 10:30. It's acceptable to be seen at 9:30, maybe 9:32, 33, but no more. So we had so many arguments, and he just couldn't get it in his head, as I say, he's improved, that this time was a big issue. And his theory was, well, if I'm with a patient, they come first. They need to be treated. I will do everything. If it's a swollen face, and yes, I've got an appointment in 5 minutes, but I'm going to need to start opening this tooth up and start doing the endo here and now, right? Not just opening up the pulp, but doing the first stage of endo, but sometimes even completing the endo when they've got another patient waiting 5 minutes later. And although this was wonderful for this patient, it wasn't wonderful for the rest of the patients. It wasn't wonderful for the receptionist who had to explain this. It wasn't wonderful for the nurse. So those little things, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love him to bits. However, he was not acting as a fiduciary. He was not respecting people's time. He wasn't, the good faith that people would come to him. And we lost a lot of patients because of that. Although because of the way he was, we'd gained a lot as well. So that's what we need to do, is respect people and what their needs and wants are. So really, it becomes a relationship where it's not really about us. It's about, like, as an associate, I guess, for a lot of us, for a lot of you, you go in, you've got your list ready, you sort of go in there, you do what needs to be done. Of course, you will treat the patient with respect and you will do the best treatment plan that you can, but essentially that's your relationship. You go in, you do your dentistry, you walk out. As a principal, there's a lot more to it, because not only are you concerned about doing that, i.e. clinically giving the best that you can give, but you're also worried about your associate's patients. Is your associate doing the best that he or she can do for the patients? Because guess what? They're not his or her patients, they're the practice's patients. And this is a big thing that we all as associates think they're our patients. They're not, they're the practice's patients. And so being the practice's patients, it's the name on the door that carries the can. They will take the benefit, the compliments, but they will also take the criticism and the complaints. And I certainly, thankfully, it's not happened very much, but on occasion when there have been complaints because of time, because of, disrespect towards patients in other ways, they haven't really gone back to the associate. They've come to me and said, well, this is your practice. You need to deal with it. What are you going to do? I had this experience at the Neem Tree. Now, as a practice principal and as a practice owner, I take these things very, very seriously, and I will get involved. But these are the sorts of things and the mind shift that you need to start thinking about, that you're acting in a very different way to purely a clinician. Okay. So the biggest mistake that we can make is really falling in love with our products, our services. So as you know, whenever you go on a course, let's say, I don't know, an endo course or whatnot, I remember going on one a while back and I absolutely fell in love with the files and the systems and this and that. I went in on the Monday and I just couldn't stop raving about it and telling all my patients about this amazing kit that I just bought and how wonderful it was and how wonderful I was and, you know, look, I can do this, look at this x-rays, isn't that amazing? You know, no. If we want mad raving fan technology, we need to fall in love with our clients. It's quite simple. We just need to care more for them than we care about ourselves, our products and our services. And if we're doing everything we possibly can, we align everything that we do in our practice with what is right for them and not what is right for us, well, actually, everything that is right for us will fall into place. It really will. It really is that simple. So then we sort of pair apart the relationship between our clients and us a little bit further. We look at this system of dimensions of a relationship. And the first dimension of a relationship is it's all about you. In other words, it's all about me. So what am I getting out of this relationship? So if I form a relationship with a patient, what am I getting out of it? Oh, you know, how much whitening can I sell? Or how many implants can I sell to this patient? And, you know, oh, good, look at the hourly rate that I will be bringing in. It'll be wonderful. And I'm talking to them about their mum, dad, cat, dog. Oh, bring them in as well. And what can I get out of that family? So in other words, it's all about what I'm getting. And that's a traditional customer relationship. So if you do go to Curry's or John Lewis or whatnot, even though obviously John Lewis have a slightly different culture, essentially it's about what they can sell to you. And that's what it is. And a patient knows that, or a client knows that. Okay, this sort of relationship where it is all about you is actually a very temporary relationship. And yes, you will do the things, you will tick the boxes, you will treat them, they will go away. Will they be a mad raving fan? Probably not. Will they be a patient? Probably. Will they be a client? Maybe, but it's a very temporary thing. Take it or leave it. I don't really need to come back to you. You know, what exactly did you do for me, they will say. So the number two type of relationship is it's all about equality. So, you know, as long as I get what I need, you can get what you need. As long as you're fulfilling my needs, I'll fulfill your needs. But that's it. If you don't listen to me, I've told you about this perio problem. I've told you to clean your teeth regularly. This is a toothbrush. Do you know what a toothbrush is? Why don't you know what a toothbrush is? Can't believe you've come in with such a mouth. You haven't been to the dentist for 20 years. What am I going to suddenly do? Am I a miracle worker? You know, that sort of relationship is about, again, it's temporary, but it's a bit more successful because it shows at least that you care that they're so bad. I mean, you know, you could just say, oh, it's not my problem. I can't really treat you. I've got no time for you. See you later. At least this way you're showing a little bit of passion. You're a bit annoyed. You care, okay? The way you've treated them isn't great, but, you know, it's all about give and take. It is a more successful relationship, but again, depending on the patient, it may or may not work. I'll give you an example. I've had this amazing new, well, she's not that new, American hygienist. We all love American hygienists, don't we? Especially if you've got American patients. It goes down very well. So she is fantastic, from New York, but we'll let her off. And she's working very well. However, she's extremely, extremely clinical. Not a problem, I thought, but our patients have much more of a, they're very educated folk, they're very, dentistry and hygiene certainly is a big priority for them. So when they go into her chair, yes, they're an older population, they might have some perio issues, etc. When they go and see her for the first time and she starts laying into them about their oral hygiene and their perio and their, you know, how bad they are and what they're not doing, they don't really take kindly to this. I get the complaint. What do you mean? How dare she speak to me like this? No one has ever spoken to me like this. I'm not a child. This, that, the other. You know, this is, and so this turns into a bit of a not a physical complaint, but they're just rattled. They just don't. It's not a GDC problem. So basically, it's my problem. Right? What are you going to do about this person? So then I go and talk to her, and I, you know, try and say to her, look, I don't want you to do anything differently because you're fantastic clinically, but you just need to sort of go easy on. But, you know, I'm not happy with this. If they can't look after this, it's my job to look after their oral needs, and I need to tell them what's what. She doesn't quite speak like that, but, you know. So this is the relationship where it is about her caring and her wanting to do what's best for the patient, but it's not quite understanding their needs. Their needs are to be respected, to be treated as an adult, and to be encouraged rather than told off, right? So she doesn't quite understand that. And I think that's quite common for most people. But again, as a principal, it's your role, if you ever encounter that within any of your team, to sit down with them and say, look, was this the best approach? I mean, obviously, you've got another problem if they're a complete cowboy as an associate and they're mistreating the patients. That's another, we'll talk about that later. But again, as a principal, you're the overseer and you're trying to make sure that this relationship that you have with your patients or they have with your patients is one where they just become mad raving fans. Okay, so the third and final dimension of a relationship, which really is the one that we want for this mad raving fan culture, is that your needs are my needs. I don't have any other needs apart from what your needs are. So one of the things that I say to all my team, especially if they're new, when a patient is in the chair, I mean, in the olden days when we didn't have a decontamination room, many years ago, we used to have the autoclave right in front of where the patient was sitting. So I would be talking to the patients and the nurse would come in and start rattling about the instruments, start cleaning and this and that. And I used to get so annoyed. I used to take them aside and say, look, can you just get out of the room? When I'm talking, yeah, but you're busy talking. We've got nothing else to do. I said, I don't care. Sit still. Just sit there. Because what's happening is the patient is not listening to me. They're getting distracted by you and you're clattering about, you know. And they didn't quite get it, but eventually they got the message that when the patient is in the chair, no one else matters. Doesn't matter, okay? If something really crazy happens, somebody dies, send an instant message, okay? Don't come in and say, you know, sorry, but your so-and-so is just... what you need to do is send an instant message and say, excuse me, can you please just step outside for a second? I'm so sorry, Mr. Jones. Just come outside. Then drop the news. But do not bring that sort of news or bring your phones or bring anything else in the room, because when the patient is in the chair, their needs are above everyone else. They are like God. Okay. Other things that you can do for them, what we regularly do, certainly in Isha, the train station is quite far from us. Patients will give us a call. We will collect patients from the station. Quite literally, we will drop them back. If, our dentist is running 2 hours late, which, sometimes it does happen, and the family is waiting, we will go across the road, buy some pizza and feed the children as well, just because, that's the sort of thing that you would do. And regularly dropping prescriptions or treatment plans or whatever it might be. Our receptionists have been around to other people's houses and just dropped stuff through the post to save them a journey. Sure.
With the thing about taking patients in the car, someone told me that there was an issue with insurance and you couldn't take patients in your car.
So that's absolutely right. If you would offer it to them, and if they said, well, could you please give me a lift? Because we haven't done it that often, but we have on occasion given them lifts when they've come in and they're a little bit woozy, and they don't have a lift, they don't have anything else. So we would get them to sign, basically just sign some document to just sort of say, I'm happy, maybe even on the back of the treatment plan, I'm happy to get a lift from so-and-so, and I have requested it. Something along those lines, then you're covered. It's nothing, we don't have anything formal, but as long as you've got something written down, because you're absolutely right, if something happens, then you're a bit stuffed. So we would never force that on anyone. But it's just about going that extra mile to help the patients, to help their needs, rather than your own. The other thing, actually, it's very relevant to this weekend, is I was talking to one of the organisers a couple of days ago, the event organiser here. And obviously, in organising this, we've had many chats along the way. But she came to me on Friday, and she's got some ortho, she's got some braces, fixed braces on. She's getting married in a few months. And she just said, I'd like to get my teeth whitened and some of these chips sorted and all the rest. So I was clearly busy with you guys, but I just took 5 minutes out when somebody else was talking. And I said, and we had a long chat about what's possible and timelines and getting herself booked up, because she had 3 weeks before her ortho braces came off and she got married. So I said to her, look, I'm gonna get my colleague Mel to give you a call tomorrow, and she will take you through everything. Thank you very much, that's perfect. So I chose Mel because I know, out of all of the team, she is the best one when it comes to client services. She's the best one. This number 3, your needs are my needs, is her all over. She's not dental. I actually, funnily enough, poached her. In the first couple of weeks of opening up, I I was handing leaflets out because you go up and down the street, you know, and you get stuck in and you give leaflets out. So I went to the architectural office, architect's office next door, and I was handing leaflets out, and she just came across so warmly. She was so friendly towards me, and she said, "Oh yes, you know, I can. Oh, how long have you been? All these in." She was very interested in what I had to say, and I just said to her, I said, "Oh, you know, I was thinking I'm going to poach you. You're going to be working with us, aren't you? Really are." I said, "So, how long have you been working here?" And she said, "Oh, I'm just a temp." I said, "Really? Right. Here's my card. Come and see me tomorrow." And she said, what do you mean? What do you mean? I said, "Just come and see me," right? And, you know, 6 years on, she's with us. She's absolutely fantastic. So when I spoke to this person, I didn't get anyone else. I mean, yeah, we've got a fabulous team, but this person does that with her eyes shut. So I thought, right, you are going to speak to this person now. Lo and behold, I popped in yesterday and, you know, how's it all going and all the rest of it at the clinic. And she said, "Oh, yeah," she said, that contact that you gave me, she said, "we had a half-hour conversation." She said, "Because guess what? My friend so-and-so also works at Mercedes-Benz, and you will never believe this, she knows her really well, and they go out partying, and guess what? I've been invited to one of her do's at such and such." And she said, you know, she was all over me about this timing of this wedding preparation for her teeth and all the rest of it. And I thought, great, thank God, because I knew she was taken care of. So really, it's about whether you or somebody in your team does that, but you need that happening in your practice. Sure.
Smita, just one question. Obviously, there are 3 different types of relationships. Do you find sometimes they have to play a different head depending on the patient themselves? Some people just want to be transactional, they just want that treatment. Do you find yourself altering your presentation?
That's a really, really good question, and I've got a bit of a long answer. So, sorry, we're going to stall. So, a while ago, about a year ago, we had have you all heard of a monkey survey? Yeah. So we had this monkey survey done in our practice, and we had a list of about 18 questions that were quite long and quite onerous, and they didn't go down very well because it was like, do we really have half an hour to sit here and answer these questions? All on the iPad. But the essence of these questions was the following. It was purely to ascertain where these patients were coming from. When I say that, is where they were coming from up here. So the point was that we could then divide them into 3 different groups. One of them, depending on their answers to these questions, would be that type of person, a transactional type of person. They don't really care about the science of plaque, the science of calculus. They don't really care whether you do mercury-free dentistry and the effect that has on MS, Alzheimer's disease, neurological disease, you know, all that stuff. They don't really care. They're not into the science. They come in, they want as little done as possible, and they want to walk out. They don't want to talk to you about the weather, just do my work, let me get out. So there's those types. Then there was the other type who was much more into the science. "Oh yeah, I want to, really, latest technology, tell me more about this. Clinical trials, oh, evidence-based, yes, tell me more. I'm a scientist, don't you know, I'm a PhD biochemist, tell me more about this, and the links and the chains. So there's that type of person. Again, this all came out of the questionnaire, it was fantastic. And then there's the other type who is much more into the touchy-feely. "Oh yes, you know, and I had a few years ago, this accident happened, and I was traumatized by my father, this happening to them, and as a result I've been so stressed, and yes, you're right, that's the reason for my wear and attrition and all the rest of it, and you know, oh really, yes, you know, I've been thinking I'm so unwell, I'm glad you picked up on that, what can I possibly do?" And the huggy and the kissy and all that stuff. So there are 3, possibly 4 types of people that you will get in your practice. Now, if you really tease this apart further, I mean, that really is trying to get to the bottom of your needs and my needs. Because funnily enough, even a transactional patient, by treating them in a transactional fashion, professional, obviously, courteous, obviously, but by treating them in that way, you are understanding their needs, right? So, and I think that's what you were trying to get to, right? But if you treat another touchy-feely type, science type, like that, they're going to feel very undersold. They're going to feel like they've been underserviced. They're going to feel, do you know what, he didn't care. He didn't really care about me. I mean, he's just an average dentist, really. They don't know the margins of your crowns, how good they are. They don't really care. That monkey survey was purely to try and get what type of patient you are. Now, you might think, okay, so what do you do with that? So we didn't, but we should have done, lack of time. But what we wanted to do with that was to take these patients and to group them. So you would have your, maybe you could call it traffic lighting or whatnot, but you'd have, like, let's say your red could be your transactional types, your green could be your touchy-feely types, your yellow or amber could be your science types. you would sort of put them in, you'd colour coordinate them on Software of Excellence, and then you would know and you would train your team to treat them in the way in which they wanted to be treated. And you could take that a step even further. Now in the age of text marketing and social media, you could even do things like, let's say you're a science type. Let's say you really want to know the science and the technology. And let's say I've got a new product or a new service, or I've been on a new course and I've learnt loads about some new technology that's come. What I could do is, for the science types, I could send a text message out just to the science types, because the other ones, the transactional ones, are like, why are you wasting my time? Will you stop badgering me? I don't want to hear from you. What are you talking about? So the science types will turn around and go, oh, fantastic. I don't get that from any other practice. They're telling me all about this new technology. They must be amazing. Now, they might not need what I'm texting them, but actually, at some point, they might. Or they might just think, oh, you know, my wife needed this. Well, my wife needed the newest implants, and guess what? This practice is amazing. So do you see what I mean? So it's all about trying to, and there are so many ways and levels and time that you can spend on trying to get into this type of relationship, because you really are committed to meeting their needs no matter what. And this shows an exact example of that. Then really you've got the ultimate competitive advantage. There is no other practice that will be doing that around you, because they're devoting so much time. So, you know, your question earlier of working wet-handed full-time. Have you got time to be doing all of this? So, you know, yeah. So that's where we need to be aiming for. Okay. So these are the organising principles. I won't read them out to you. Just have a read of them. And really, the summary here is that you want to look after your patients' needs. You don't want to, you're not expecting them or you're demanding things off them. You're doing them because you want to give everything you can to them. And what then comes out of it is probably a lot more than you'll ever imagine. Okay, so here again, the money is, we talk about lists and we talk about goodwill, and there's lots of people who are buying goodwill. So, you know, you'll go up to somewhere, you'll see what their turnover is for the practice, you'll see the numbers of patients on their list, and you'll accordingly make an offer and give them some goodwill for it. And I think that's a common misconception. I'm not saying it's wrong, because we don't have the technology yet to actually pare it down and tease it out further, or we don't have the time, because as somebody was saying, you guys were saying the other day, when you find out from your agent that practice is for sale, the next day it's gone. Just as you're about to go and look at it, it's gone. So we don't have the time to do that, but I wish we did, because actually the value, the goodwill, is not in the numbers of patients that are in that list. The value is the value which you've provided to those patients. So if you have been the kind of principal, and now I'm talking about your exit strategy, if you've been the type of principal who has done all of this, created Mad Raving fans, invested time, effort and money into creating Mad Raving fans as a list, versus somebody else who's just got a list of 3,000 patients and take it or leave it type of person, who do you think is more valuable? Whose list is more valuable, right? Of course, you've then got to think, am I going to be able to replicate that? Because if you haven't got the time, right, then you want the other one, because you can create, absolutely. So having this Mad Raving fan, this technology is, or having that culture is fantastic, but you've got, it's a full-time job, trying to create that, trying to build it. And it's wonderful for you, because you will reap the reward. But for someone else coming in, to be able to replicate that is tough. But then, if that person has priced their goodwill accordingly, you need to be quite savvy when you're, you know, because you need to do some research. Who are these patients? Are they just patients, or are they Mad Raving fans? Yeah? Just food for thought. Henry Ford asked, if I'd asked my customers what they wanted, Henry Ford, of Ford Motors, of course, once asked, if I'd asked my customers what they wanted, they'd have said, a faster horse. Which is true, right? So it's our job, especially for those science types, it's our job to educate patients, educate them in things that they don't even know exist, things that they can't even fathom. That's our role. But it's not our role to just introduce them to these new technologies and introduce them to the fabulous dentistry that we do. It's about making that relevant to your needs. Why is it so important for you? And actually something else wouldn't be important for you, so I won't even bore you with it. Okay. So, strategies. for creating these people. It's all about understating but overselling rather than the other way. It's not about, I can give you 1 million things and then deliver 5. It's about saying I can deliver 5 but actually give them 1 million. And that's how you're going to create mad raving fans, because it's unexpected. Okay? Your aim underneath it all as clinicians and as business owners is longevity. It is that you want to leave your patients or your clients in a better place than when they came to you. Always. Some might say better, like if they haven't been for many years and they've got a mouthful of stubs and stumps and perio, then you might say, okay, clinically I want to leave them in a better place. Some might come to you absolutely immaculate, they've just come for a 6-month checkup, but you want them leaving your practice in a much better place, better educated, better, more knowledgeable, and hopefully leave your practice at the end of their course of treatment having made a friend or made lots of friends within the team. Some place that they can come have a coffee or a tea or a herbal tea, where they just come and just chat about what's going on in their life. Like Mel, like I was saying earlier, that happens all the time. You see patients and then you're thinking, well, there's no dentist in the actual room, so what on earth are all these patients doing here? Oh, it's Mel having her discussions. I'm like, great, that's great, I encourage it. So it's about leaving them in a better place, whether it's up here or down here. Use the principles of creating jackpots and variable reinforcement. So jackpots, for example, are treats. So if they've done, I suppose it's a similar theory to when children do really well. You give them balloons, you give them stickers and all the rest of it, but also clients. So what you might do is you might give them loyalty schemes. So there might be a loyalty scheme in your practice where you give them 6 hygienes and you give the 7th one free or something, or you give them something that they don't expect, or they've been really, really good, and you give them a toothbrush at the end of it, or something like that, something they didn't expect. And variable reinforcements are, again, a similar thing. So in Wandsworth, which a lot of you who are local will know, it's very close to Wimbledon. And what happens in Wimbledon? Tennis. So what we often do, and we don't do it every year because it's variable reinforcement, during Wimbledon week, we will just stand outside the practice and inside the practice and just give out strawberries and cream in little pouches, which I get from the chip shop, free. So those sorts of things are great because, again, it's a little nod to a local event, and it's free. And then even on Valentine's Day, for example, what we do, and we've always done this, is we give out white roses to all our patients. White because of teeth, and also we don't want to get in trouble with their spouses, and roses because it's Valentine's Day, and we try and do the male-female thing, so if there's a male patient, a female in the team will give one, and vice versa. And that's quite a nice touch. It's unexpected, we don't announce it, we don't advertise it. Little things like that work really well, and we've done this from the start. In fact, funnily enough, and this is more marketing, but I'll tell you anyway, this Valentine's Day, what we had was in Wandsworth, we've got a lapsed patient list, so people who perhaps have, because obviously if you've got an oldish practice, you will have patients who haven't been for 2, 3, 4 years. Plus, they might have moved, they might not like you, they might have moved, transient population in London, but some of them do come back. But anyway, we had this campaign going where we bespoke made some Valentine's cards. So on the front, it looked like a proper Valentine's, very classy, red lips and something about Happy Valentine's Day. Then inside we had Happy Valentine's Day, but it did say in printed material, it just said something about Happy Valentine's Day, we've missed you. Where have you been? We've missed your beautiful smile. We'd love to see you again. Please have this complimentary hygiene or checkup. Take this as a complimentary voucher for a hygiene or checkup. Please come and see us. And then we hand wrote everybody's names at the bottom. And dear so-and-so, dear John, we wrote that at the top. So, and then the envelopes were plain red, and then their names were handwritten on the envelopes. Now, this was a very costly exercise and a very time-consuming exercise, but there was a lot of thought in it, and the thought was as follows. We have so much junk mail coming through the door every day, Domino's, pizzas, this, that, the other. I don't even see it, it just goes straight in the bin. However, whenever you get an envelope, which isn't printed, but it's handwritten, are you more likely to open it? Right? You are, right? And especially if it's on Valentine's Day or near Valentine's Day and it's handwritten and it's a red envelope, even if it's to hide it from your spouse, you're thinking, oh God, who's written this? It's interesting, and it puts a smile on your face. So A, you're more likely to open it. B, it's more likely to produce a grin of some description. I mean, obviously, when you open it and you look inside, it's only a dental practice, but still, it means that you open it and it puts us in the front of your mind as opposed to the back of your mind, because clearly we've been there because you haven't come back to us for a couple of years, right? Now, I say that, so it's quirky, it's something different. Having said that, I have to say it didn't really work. This campaign didn't really work. It was very costly, and for the cost, the return wasn't great. In fact, we had 2 calls, one of which I remember very clearly. This irate wife called us up, and she just said, "How dare you send a Valentine's card to my husband?" And this and blah, blah, blah. And my receptionist was like, "I can't believe this. She's a mad, raving lunatic." And I said, "Well, you know, that's one out of however many hundreds we sent, so it's not the end of the world. But, I mean, how insecure is she?" But anyway, that's another story. And of course, just running your business in a very open and transparent way, being very clear. If you make a mistake, if there is a problem, if the chair is down, if there, you know, whatever the problem is, put your hand up and tell them. Open and transparent way actually reminds me of a story again with this Nuno. God, if you ever see him, you'll be like, oh, you won't believe what she says about you. He was running late, and for whatever reason, he didn't make it in that day. And the receptionist gave some excuse. Obviously, didn't want to talk about what the problem was, so she just said he was ill and he had some sort of operation or something. I don't know, whatever she said on the day. That's fine, the patient calmed down. The patient came back a couple of weeks ago. The receptionist hadn't told the dentist what she had said, so you can just imagine. Patient says to the dentist, "Oh, I heard you had this operation, that operation," I don't know what, you know, as if he was on death's door. And he goes, "What? What operation are you talking about? I just had to go and drop my mum at the airport or something," you know. And that created so many problems. There was this charge of dishonesty, there was this charge of, "How dare you lie to me, why didn't you just be honest, blah, blah, blah," you know, all this business. So then, you know, we were moaning at him for actually coming up last minute and telling us, and then her at not talking to him, and it just caused a lot of problems. So just be open and honest, be transparent, because it'll come to bite you in the bum otherwise. Aaron spoke to you a little bit about the 80-20 rule yesterday. Are we all aware of what the 80-20 rule is? Basically, this is about how your best clients, or your 80% of your business, whether it's recommendation, whether it's actual business, whether it's money, whether it's funds, whatever it is, comes from about 20% of your clients, 20% of your business. So what we say here is reward the top 20%. So in the past, what we've had is we've identified who our top 20% is in the practice. Now, it might be the 20% of the biggest spenders, but it might not be 20% of the biggest spenders. It might be 20% of the people who shout and rave about you and go out and tell people about you. So they might have recommended 10 patients to you, but actually not spent very much. Don't care. You're what we call the sneezers in marketing. So you've sneezed about us. You are in our 20%. So treat them. And certainly for an example of the biggest spenders is people who've spent, and we've done this in the past, people who've spent 10K or above with us. What we do, I do this, is I get them vouchers for tea at the Ritz for 2. Costs about £100. I get it all bound and wrapped beautifully, and then inside I will write a personal message and say words along the lines of, "Dear so-and-so, thank you so much for letting us take care of something as precious as your smile. We've really enjoyed your company. You've been part of our Neem Tree family. This is just something for you to go and enjoy with a loved one. Compliments of the Neem Tree. Thank you," whatever. And then I get everybody to sign it, hand sign it. And the comments that we've had back from that have been so beautiful because, again, it's that personal touch rather than just sending them some vouchers for whatever. So that's really, really been important, and it's been well received. And then just giving back in any ways that you can. Charitable movements, doing fun runs, going on, climbing Kilimanjaro, whatever it might be. Involve the practice in that. If you can, or if one of your team members does something, put it on your website, blog it, put it on your newsletter, tweet it, whatever you need to do. Show, I mean, firstly do it because you're doing it out of the goodness of your heart, but show the patients that you actually belong to something or believe in something that's a bit bigger than you, bigger than all of us. This, again, this is all about how we've aligned the entire organisation around one mission, and that is to provide the best customer service possible. And internally, we call this our WOW philosophy. So I think in the past, we've also done a lot of training sessions based around WOW philosophy and how we are going to wow a patient. And I think, not that this is a marketing segment, but a WOW philosophy isn't just a philosophy for today, because whatever I do to wow you today wonderful, I might bring out a glass of champagne and wow you today. But then next time you come in, you expect that glass of champagne, right? So what can I do next time to wow you even more? Right? And then the time after that, so it's one of those constant things that you have to just keep on top of all the time. This is just an example of the sorts of things you need to get yourself thinking about as and when you plan, open, and run a practice. Because ultimately it will come from you, no one else.
Let's assume you're actually buying an existing practice with an existing list.
Yeah.
One of the points you made is about how can you actually tell the quality of that list in terms of are these just kind of general patients who looked after or they've been looked after exceptionally well? What kind of ways?
So that's a really good question, and it's very hard to find out. One of the ways in which I would do it is I would set aside team members, so the staff, the practice manager, the nurse, the receptionist, and an associate also. Obviously, that might be difficult because if it's a closed sale and they're not telling anyone, that makes it difficult. So then you would have to ask the principal, can we do some random calls of these patients? Again, this is all if everybody agrees to doing it and they allow you to do this. But I mean, a simple way would be to randomly select these patients. Same with the whole paper notes situation. So if you're inheriting a paper notes clinic, firstly, I'd be very worried about that. But if that's what I was going to do, I would randomly select about 50 patients from different times, different time periods, and I would call them up and I'd say, just calling from such and such practice, just wondering, just checking with the notes or checking with the systems. Do you remember when you were approximately when you last came to the practice? And then you align that with what it says in the notes, because these notes could have been made up, and they might have come 20 years ago, but actually in the notes it says 6 months ago, right? So, I mean, how else can you do it? And then again, with the answer to your question is I would again just call them up and say, yeah, we're just doing some research, just wondering how has your experience been at such and such. Hopefully something comes out of it. It's a really, really difficult one to get to the bottom of. The team are the ones who will tell you. So, you know, if you saw, for example, in Mel at my place, hopefully, she would tell you, and she can't stop talking. She's even worse than me. She will just go, oh, you know, such and such patient, and he was so good, and this is the feedback, and blah, 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 blah. If you meet somebody like that, chances are they're doing something right. If you've got somebody who's completely silent, a receptionist or a nurse or and they're like, you know, they're all right. We've had a few issues, but it's okay. It's okay. We're all right. We're on top of it. I would be a bit wary, but it's not a science. You have to do what you can.
So in terms of you were saying you've got to do what the patient wants. So one current practice I worked at, a lot of patients were very busy. They just wanted to get their teeth fixed, just in and out.
Yep.
But there was sometimes what used to happen is the patient just never used to have a checkup. She was fine for years and years, no X-rays or anything. And there was an issue in that practice where I think the care was neglected, but the patients kind of got used to that. So how do you, if you're taking over those patients and they just want to get that tooth fixed, where do you, how do you?
That's a great question, and that reminds me of many years ago when I just finished my VT. I started up in a den plan practice, private den plan practice, but my principal had just bought the practice and I was the main dentist. I was working there full time. So he just said, he sold it to me as, you're going to inherit 1,000 den plan patients and they're going to pay you this much. And I was like, great, just out of VT, this is wonderful, private and a bit of NHS on the side, but that was all den plan. So I took over, and the retiring dentist was this old gentleman who'd been there for donkey's years. The patients were similar to him, as in elderly folk, who were just used to his type of dentistry, which in my eyes was very right now dentistry. Do that filling and send you off. Extract the tooth, send you off. No X-rays, but it was den plan. So in my eyes, there was a lot of not just supervised neglect, there was negligence going on there. And that's because he had converted an NHS clinic into a den plan. And in order to sort of convert you and not make it too expensive, because in my mind, he was trying to plan his exit by saying, this is a den plan practice, you will inherit 2,000 patients or 3,000 or whatever it was. That's what I'm thinking he was doing, because they were meant to be in category E and they were in category A. Most people, in fact, in that practice were category B. but they really should have been in category E. There's no OPG machine, hardly any x-rays taken. So I inherit this list, this new graduate, more or less, inherit this list, and I'm coming in with, oh yes, we've got to take these x-rays, I need to take an OPG, trying to explain all of this. And these patients are so resistant. They're thinking, this newbie has just arrived, she's telling us what to do when Dr. So-and-so hasn't done, and he's such a nice dentist, he hardly did anything. I know, I can see that. And it was such an uphill battle. It really was. And I literally I got so many complaints, so many clinical complaints. This person doesn't know what she's doing. She wants to do root canals on us when this tooth has been fine for 1,000,000 years. Why does she need to do root canal? So I had to take the x-rays, I took OPGs, I took PAs, showed them all with these complaints, sent them all. Luckily, I was fine because I'd got, evidence. But it was an absolute nightmare. That's what I remember of that particular post. It really was a nightmare. And I think the learning there is that my principal should have dug a bit deeper what he did, which, we would all probably do. He just saw Denplan, this list, let me go and buy it, and I'll be quids in because I've got this capitation coming in every month. But it's a wrong decision. And if I'm honest, that's turned me off Denplan. Even to now, I won't touch Denplan because of this.
It happened with a lot of Denplan.
Right? It's negligence. Isn't it horrendous though? I just thought it was maybe just me, but it's discouraging to hear that. But the answer to the question is, the only thing you can do is take x-rays and do your BPs, do everything that you normally do and be transparent. Goes back to the transparent slide, be transparent about it. Because at first there'll be resistance because some people don't believe in it. I had one principal who people loved him, absolutely loved him because he didn't used to drill anything. Right? So he would just get a spoon excavator, so there was no local. Oh my God, he doesn't need to give us injections. Why do you need to give us injections? You can't be very good. So it means you're going to hurt us. He didn't hurt us. Why do you need to give an injection? Don't you know what you're doing? It was just horrendous. I've seen some sites, sadly. But with people like that, if you do happen to inherit that, whether it's as an associate or a principal, you have to be as transparent as possible.
In terms of, I know that's exactly the situation I inherited, but in terms of the patients...
It is.
It is exactly, yeah.
I feel for you. I feel for you.
It's funny because it was a beautiful private practice. I could get any equipment that I wanted to, but even the principals are very old school, rarely wrote any medical records, rarely did BP score or any x-rays, and then when I see their patients, and you have to tell them...
Yeah. You're the worst ogre. So why are you spending all this time doing... What are all these numbers you're reading out? What's all that about?
Yeah. In terms of covering yourself, though, for the patients that, just want that... I also used to document it, but for the patients who just want, broken tooth repaired, I used to explain, look, there may be some decay under there. We need to take some x-rays. You've never had any x-rays taken. We need to do a check-up. Why don't you come back for a check-up? And eventually the patients did used to do that, but do you get some patients that do you get to a limit where you have to say to them, look, I know this is your need and this is what you want, but this is what we need to do for you. Or I'm nice to someone to just say, look, I'll do it free. If the concern is about the fee for the x-rays and the check-up, I'll just...
I think with cases like that, you have to be quite strict, and it's got to be in line with your ethics and what's right for the patient. And I do, because of what I do a lot of emergency work, because that's the only thing I do really. But when I do emergency work and I see these patients, and I know that my associate's going to pick it up down the line, I will just say to them, look, they'll say I haven't been for years, and I'll come back another day and I'll come back and have a checkup. And I say to them, look, the way you do it is in your fees. So we have an emergency fee to be seen. If you're not a registered patient, there's an emergency fee of £65, or £60 depending on which clinic, £65 to be seen as an emergency patient. If, for example, you live in Scunthorpe and you're off tomorrow and we're never going to see you again, fine, pay the £65 and then whatever I do is on top. However, if you are local and if you can come back, I would advise you, because your last checkup was 6 years ago, I would advise you to come back for a checkup. Now, if you come back for a checkup, we won't charge you an emergency fee. Yeah? And the checkup fee is £55. So actually it's cheaper to become a registered patient. And guess what? If you're a registered patient and this problem ever happens again, i.e. you call me on a Sunday, you won't have an emergency fee to pay because you're one of our patients. Beautiful. So why don't you just let us do the checkup? It's cheaper. Now that just does tend to work, except for the odd few who are travelling from Japan or wherever and they happen to, they've come to see their parents or children or whatnot. That usually does take care of it because it's cost. Yeah, but you can afford to do that in a private clinic. On the NHS, it's different. But I would not compromise on your ethics. And I would say, even if that wasn't an issue, and they said, yeah, but I haven't got time for a checkup, just sort this tooth out and I'll go. Okay, but in order to sort this tooth out, I need to take an x-ray. I'm not going to do anything without an x-ray. Okay, no, I can't have it, just patch it up. So if there's nothing that you can do that you want to do except just put a temporary on, you have to document it. You have to document it everywhere. Patient advised, repeatedly, have this, patient refused. Then you've covered yourself. But obviously, there's a lot more to this than covering yourself. You want to look after the patient. Yeah? Sure.
What if they don't come back when you said come back for a checkup? Where do you go from there?
So you've charged £65, right? So you've charged the £65. What I would say is I'm just going to charge your £65 now, or you just charge, if you know that perhaps they're not going to come back or whatnot, you can either just charge the £65 and say that you'll be £10 in credit next time, or if you know they're going to come back, just say, look, I'm not going to charge you £65 today, I'm just going to charge you £55, which is your checkup fee, but we won't do it today because I'm tight of time, you're tight of time, plus you're in pain, you've got trismus, you can't open it. So we'll do your checkup next week, but I'm just going to charge you. You are coming next week, aren't you? Yes, I am. Great, we'll just charge you a checkup fee today. So you have charged them something. But the theory is next time they're getting a free checkup. Why wouldn't you come? Right? That's the only way you can do it. Money talks. Okay, well, what we'll do, obviously you can catch me outside. We'll have a bit of a break now, and then afterwards we'll be coming in to talk about our lovely teams, and a little bit about recruitment, and a little bit about leadership. Thank you.